This is a tale of disaster and recovery, thank goodness. Shows you how if you're persistent, even when the gem is all going wrong and it's flown off its dot like it did with this one, that you can still recover it and make something that is beautiful. So what we have here is a piece of lemon or yellow quartz. It looks real, although you could never tell. I bought it on eBay and I have had to chop a fair bit off. The bit I'm holding in my hand was very included, but the bit I managed to cut out was absolutely clear. So I start by using the accuracy of the sterling faceter and handpiece, and what I'm doing here is just squaring it off so I can look inside and see how clear it actually is. Okay, happy with that. It's fairly inclusion free. Let's just carry on with the faceting. I can see that the stone is what I would call opaque. It's a little bit misty, not as clear as a absolutely fantastic crystal clear quartz, but it should still do. So now I've got the oblong, I'm going to start by putting in some of the initial facets which will develop the culip point. Just getting the angle right, put it on the stone, water on, revs up and lower the mast, and let's get going. So here we are with the first lot of pavilion facets. It's looking good and we've got a nice culip point. Next we set the angle for the second lot of pavilion facets and just gently lower the mast and facet again. And there they are, all four corners now beginning to take shape. Always checking to make sure that the pavilion facets are landing properly on what I hope to be the, it basically lines up with the culip point. Once that's all lined up and all the facets are in, touching the culip point, I can start with the girdle. For those new to the channel, the girdle is where we do the side of the gem, which then forms the actual shape of the gem once everything lines up. Just showing you the four corners that are in now. Once some of the girdle facets are in, I then go back to the pavilion and start the second row of pavilion facets, which will then line up with the girdle, and gradually the stone takes shape. So when all the facets are in the pavilion, and this is a few hours later, I can use this clear lap here, which is made of perspex, which has got diamond dust embedded into it, and I can start the polishing process. All is going so very well, the gem looks magnificent and everything is accurate. There we go, almost there, doesn't it look good? So now that's done, I can remove the dop and start the transfer process of putting it onto another brass dop and starting cutting the crown. And this is the transfer block that accurately lines up the two brass rods. Therefore everything's central and precisely lined up, so you can get an accurate gem or an accurate crown. So I'm using acetone here on a piece of tissue to clear off the oils, because diamond powder is put on this disc, and then you put oil on the disc to lubricate the cutting process. That's got to be all cleaned off. Nice music, but who put the duck in? So I'm carefully wrapping the gem in some damp tissue, because we're now going to heat it and I don't want to overheat the gem. The heating softens the epoxy, which means you can then snap off the dop that you have been using whilst leaving the new dop on the other end. So for those regulars who've been watching, I have put pins into my brass dots to have an accurate lineup, which is what I'm doing. Therefore it locates accurately and I can carry on cutting. Now the pins help line up a gem, but you've still got to do your due diligence. So I look at the plan and I look at the two bottom facets that I'm pointing out. I then rest it on the plate and rock it from side to side until I know it's lined up properly. As you rock the gem, you can hear it clicking as it locates onto the actual flat plate. Once it's flat, I know it's all lined up. We then start the first crown facet, which chunks away an awful lot of the stone. This is the second crown facet, and this is where the disaster happened. I basically knocked the stone on the pillar as I went to look at it on my magnifying glass that you can see, and Sandon, who makes this machine, is going to be shouting at me because he told me my seating position was all wrong. Of course I knew better, which I obviously didn't, so I've got to make some adjustments here. But you can see the glue that I've had to reapply. Luckily there was some epoxy still on there, so like a puzzle I was able to fit it together. But I'll tell you what, it's never the same once a stone gets knocked off. It's never accurate after that point. So here's a little trick to try and line it up again. I've got 2 facets in, or rather 4 at this point, and I'm using a black marker pen to mark the stone, and I will then offer up the stone onto the disc and see where it's cutting. I know when it's lined up when the black marker disappears. So disappointedly, everything's set up as it was before it knocked off, but you can see it should be faceting 1/4 of that gem, and it's right on the edge. So clearly everything is totally out of line. So what I've now got to do is use the cheater, which is little screw handle on the side of the handpiece, and make fine adjustments until it's landing properly. So now you can see that that facet's landing properly. Let's hope that every other facet lands properly. However, it didn't, so every single facet had to be manually adjusted until it landed properly. It took hours. And again, exactly the same with the polishing stage. Everything had to be adjusted, every single facet. You've got to have patience in this game, especially when things go wrong. So the thing to do with a situation like this is embrace the challenge, because you learn so much on this machine by making fine adjustments to the left, to the right, up and down, until eventually you rescue everything. So was it worth it in the end? Well, you are my judges. Only you can tell. I think it was, but please comment, let me know what you think. And also, please like and subscribe, it helps the channel.